Hello and welcome to Group Chat. I'm your host Bentley, and today I'm excited to welcome back Naila Ansari-Catilo, Africana Studies professor at Buffalo State University, choreographer and performing artist, Matt Hitch, musician and lover of pop culture and all-around creative at Buffalo Toronto Public Media, and Jessica Topper, award-winning author and former librarian. Welcome everybody. Today we're talking about Rebrand wins and losses, books, and escapism. But first, what are you talking about in your group chats, dare I ask?
I've been trying not to talk about politics in the group chat, but that hasn't been working.
Yeah.
But recently, been a lot of happy birthday messages because there's literally like 8 of us that have birthdays between March 21st and April 18th. So it's just happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday with like cousins I haven't talked to, seen in decades. And I'm like, ooh, what's their name? And just waiting for that one relative to say it. So
a lot of Aries in your life?
A lot of Aries, a lot of fire, a lot of extra. So.
Yeah. I'm going to say I'm March 21st. So Matt, what about you?
Same. I am also trying not to talk about politics, but recently I've been talking about video games, which is surprising to me because I've never been a video game person. I'm not good at them. I don't collect them. But we have the electronic recycling here, and I recently pulled out a Sega Genesis and got a game, and now I'm talking to people who play games, and went to an arcade for a birthday recently, so I've just been all about video games, surprisingly, this past couple weeks.
There was a Sega in the electronic recycling?
Actually, that was like several years ago, and I grabbed it and put it in my closet, and then this year I got a TV, like one of those old TVs I can hook up to it, so my girlfriend was happy that I was like not just hoarding the Sega that's been in the closet for 5 years. I broke it out, hooked it up, and it works. So
everything old is new again.
Yeah,
exactly. You're such a trendsetter. Jessica, how about you?
Actually, I have a group chat that just started with friends that I really had never been online with before, and they're writer friends. But every Sunday we check in on accountability, and what are your goals this week? What did you crush? What did you push to the next week? So that's been really fun.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure that's a thing in the writing world when you're working for yourself.
Yeah, it's such a lonely business when you're just solo writing. So to have people that understand what you're going through and, trying to keep on top of all the trends, marketing and all that other side of your brain besides writing.
Well, we're going to dive into that today. So good thing you're here. So we are going through a rebrand here at Buffalo Toronto Public Media. For each of the individual properties. So group chat is still group chat, but you're going to be hearing it instead on WBFO. You're going to hear it on BTPM NPR. So Buffalo Toronto Public Media, that's what BTPM stands for if you hear that.
Love the acronyms.
NPR. So WBFO News is going to be BTPM NPR. So WNED PBS, BTPM PBS, WBFO The Bridge, BTPM The Bridge, WNED Classical, BTPM Classical. I just think about, and then PBS Kids, I can't forget that, WNED PBS Kids, BTPM PBS Kids. My kid might have a hard time with that one. He's a big fan of the letter W, so when that WNED goes away, he might be a little confused, but the graphics will be the same. You'll see, it'll still look like the brands that you know. I just wonder how we're going to remember to say these things on air.
Well, it's sort of all-encompassing. I think it will take some time to get used to, obviously. And I think the more I say it, the more it feels natural, BTPM. I just say it over and over, BTPM. So it's going to be on our emails, and soon we're going to be hearing it on the radio all the time. So I think after a few weeks, it will just start to feel natural.
Yeah.
And having the public media part of it. I mean, we're not just radio. We're not just television. There's so much other media out there. So I think that's important.
Well, in the Buffalo, Toronto, there are public media stations and groups that go by the area that they're in. Minnesota Public Radio does that, or public media does that. So, I mean, I know that the WBFO has been like a long coveted that that Buffalo, anything to do with Buffalo, the BFO, it's going to be hard to let go of. I know I was talking to Jay Morant earlier today, and I mean, I've been doing this here for 2 years, and I'm going to have a hard time, but he's been here 12 years, so he's just going to have to flip the switch in the morning at 6 and then all of a sudden retrain his brain. So if you hear a mixture, that's probably why.
It's all repetition. I think the more you repeat it and everyone keeps saying it and everyone says it collectively, you know, it'll stick.
Yeah.
Just like WBFO.
Yeah.
I mean, that wasn't normal for people either, right?
Very true.
But I think keeping that the same brand in terms of like image helps, because when people can identify and see something, even if you have like a brand like a Starbucks or whatever, if you see the emblem, you still know what it is, even if they were to change the name or Target or all these. Sometimes a visual, you know, helps with that.
Yep.
I'm hoping it will simplify my job a bit, because as like the main courier person, I go all over the city or Western New York and pick up things that we have accounts for, drop things off. But I'm like, I'm here for WNED, I'm here for WBFO, PBS,
Channel 17.
Channel 17. So if we could just, from here on out, call everything BTPM, that would be much more simpler for me. So.
Well, it's interesting, Jessica, you bring up Channel 17, because that was an evolution of that too, because there's that wasn't really, we weren't really referring to that as Channel 17, but there's still people saying Channel 17. Channel 17. So, but yeah, I think the graphics and repetition and just explaining to people what BTPM means, and then it makes sense, Buffalo, Toronto, public media, because this is where we are. So, you know, but yeah, this is just our disclaimer that if you hear a little bit of everything for the next couple of weeks, you know that we're live and local when we struggle a little bit. But, you know, brands have rebranded, celebrities have rebranded. You know, when we were talking about celebrities and rebrands, the first person I thought of was Prince.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's a great
you
one.
know,
Yeah.
Prince and the Revolution, Prince as the symbol, formerly known as Prince. Like, I think after the symbol, he was just like, okay, I'm just gonna go. Everybody's calling me Prince anyway, so that didn't really work.
I was actually looking into that. I remember when he went by the symbol, like he was having an argument with Warner Brothers, his record label, and I thought, just looking back, I thought that probably boosted his record sales, because I feel like the 80s was definitely his like peak, and then I think he started going by symbol in 93, 92, 93, something like that. And I looked, and his sales were actually slumping at the time, which surprised me. I thought, like, because I remember being like, oh wow, this is kind of a big deal, like going by a name is like on every magazine cover, MTV News, like whatever, like
it was a big story.
I guess it didn't translate into record sales.
I liked 90s Prince. I liked the
I do too.
I'm offended by that.
No picture, just symbol.
I'm just the messenger.
He wouldn't have been on Facebook very easily, because there's no font.
Yeah, you probably would have, you know, but the way he made things happen, there would have been one.
Yeah, that's true.
And, you know, artists have rebranded for other reasons. The Dixie Chicks, they went, they're the Chicks. You know, Miley Cyrus, you know, she wanted to get away from that Hannah Montana Disney situation, grow up a little bit.
It's so funny. We were talking about Miley Cyrus in my class the other day, and I was like, how do y'all feel about Miley Cyrus? And they're like, oh, we love Miley in every iteration. And I thought that was so interesting, because I have the Gen Zs right now, and so they remember the Hannah Montana, and then they remembered her when she was wearing like Jordans, and she was, you know, doing hip hop for like a hot second. Remember that? I'm glad that went away. And then she was like twerking Hannah Montana, Miley Cyrus kind of vibe, and then she was, you know, family drama of Miley Cyrus. So everyone, I think because she's authentically her that people appreciate it. I think the branding doesn't do well with celebrities when they're trying to like all of a sudden do this PR switch because they had a scandal or they're trying to be something that they're not. You know, there's some people I think can live without a rebrand, like someone like a Denzel Washington.
Yeah.
You know, if he rebranded, everybody'd be like, what are you doing?
No need.
Like, no need. Just
Yeah.
like, I think now he's like a pastor or something, and everyone was like, yes, because, you know, we want to hear all the great things that come out of your mouth. So it wasn't like odd, but sometimes the rebranding doesn't work. But Miley has been able to do it. And I think that's because she's done it with her age.
Yes,
you know, like
evolution.
she's evolved and her maturity is kind of going with her, and everybody appreciates that.
Do you think artists find that they have to rebrand as they're maturing or changing?
That sort of happened with Justin Timberlake and Britney Spears.
Yeah.
They were Disney kids as
yeah,
well. They were both out of the Mickey Mouse Club, and it probably didn't affect Justin as much. Like, I think that's a natural progression for him to be in a boy band, but, you know, Britney Spears is trying to be a bit more grown up, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, Britney's recent rebrand is a mess. So.
Yeah, the whole Instagram video rebrand of just somebody stopped
and
us,
like
please.
The underwear just like not fully up. I don't know,
never.
It's just a lot.
No,
going on.
still bringing back that midriff.
I know.
That never comes back. She's the reason of all those bad pairs of jeans. Like
It's so
they can't
true.
come back.
They can't come back.
Yeah.
Jessica, could you think of an artist that you really noticed a rebranding or one that you can remember? Because you've worked in that industry.
Yeah, well, it's recently with David Johansen's passing, I started thinking about how did I come across David Johansen? I really was too young for the punk, for the New York Dolls scene.
Yeah.
But when MTV came on, they played this video. He was full on, almost like Jim Morrison. He had the leather pants. He sang a cover of The Animals, We Gotta Get Out of This Place.
Yeah.
And it was on MTV like so often. That was my introduction to David Johansen. All of a sudden, you know, you ask other people about a decade later and they're like, oh, Buster Poindexter.
Yeah.
I mean, he really went hot, hot, hot. And that was it. He never turned back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, that's an interesting one because there was just like 3 renditions, different names.
Yeah.
If you're just joining us, I'm your host, Bentley. You're listening to Group Chat, and I'm joined by Naila Ansari-Catilo, Matt Hitch, and Jessica Topper. We're talking about rebranding because Buffalo Toronto Public Media is going through a rebrand. BTPM, under BTPM. And we're just talking about some of the things that we've seen and artists that we've seen rebrand. Sabrina Carpenter has done something similar but hasn't changed her name, but she's trying to shed the Disney like mature. What do we think about that?
Disney is always hard to shed because Disney is such a brand in itself. And I think you either make the choice to just upset parents and kids or you don't. And I think that's the difference with Miley Cyrus and even like a Britney Spears. I think when they kind of switched and they kind of fell in that middle of like, I really care about what the kids think and what their parents think. Yeah. And then they're also trying to live in this adult world where they're, where we don't really have kids looking at us as role models. I think you have to make a choice and be okay with losing an audience. Yeah. And I think she's trying to float and that doesn't work.
Yeah.
They're all of those were like kids growing up too, where like even like when you're not famous, you're like going through these cliques and stuff in high school. So I imagine if you're like living in the spotlight like that all the time, you're like going through adolescence and you have all these like new feelings and all this different stuff happening. So you're trying to like control your image and be cool or whatever to whoever you want to attract. And I know, like, probably every kid goes through it. One second, you're just like, I'm not a kid anymore.
Right.
Like,
Let me grow up.
I'm an adult. So, like, that's got to be hard to, like, also, like, listen to your managers. Like, we don't want to offend these kids or whatever. It's definitely got to be a difficult transition, I would imagine.
Yeah, I think recently in the news, is it Millie Bobby Brown? I mean, she was Stranger Things. She was this little kid, and I just happened to see, well, my daughter's name is Millie, and they're almost the same age. So I looked at a picture of Millie Bobby Brown recently, and I thought, oh my gosh, she looks about 30 years old. She's really transformed, and I think people are having a hard time.
Yeah, she just got married. Right?
Yeah.
And I think people also forget that a lot of them a lot of these actors are actually older than what they're playing.
Yeah.
And so sometimes you're getting people that are paying teenagers that are in their 20s. And so they've always kind of been on the older end of thing, and they're still expecting them to be like 13, 14 years old.
I think Hollywood's always done that. Even like the Breakfast Club and stuff. They're all like in their 20s. None of them are like in high school.
Well, when you go back and look at those movies, though, they're not teenagers. They don't look anything like teenagers.
I was just watching The Wiz the other day, and I was like, Diana Ross is way too old to be playing Dorothy. But it was they were major celebrities at the time, so you just kind of went with it, and we just dealt with the middle-aged Dorothy, and that was
Or there's middle-aged men that are actually in their 20s. Now, what about business rebrands? Apple had a very successful rebrand, but to the point of talking earlier about logos, I mean, you're always going to recognize that Apple logo.
Right.
So how important is the messaging around that, and what makes a campaign successful? Because there's also been some failures, like Twitter to X. Everybody still calls it Twitter.
Yeah.
But I think first of all, no one likes Elon, so so we can start with why that didn't work out from the beginning. Because sometimes I think when you make presidents and CEOs too much of the face of something, and then when they have mistakes or they have drama, then everyone also attaches that to them. So I think if it were someone else that took over Twitter, I don't know that people would have behaved the way they behave now, and like refusing to call it X. But if you have a really good product, a lot of times that doesn't matter because the product is really good, which I think with Apple, I mean, gift and curse for some of the products that they have, and every 2 years you need to get a new whatever phone. But for what it is and the technology that it brought, it was amazing. So people are like, this is an amazing product. So no matter how many times they change, they like the product.
And they associate that with a good product.
Right.
I remember McDonald's kind of was going through this thing where they were like showing how many calories they had and like offering salads, and their coffee was like good. And it's not, if I'm not going to McDonald's to eat healthy food.
Right. So,
I know what
want
McDonald's
a salad
is.
option. Those salads weren't terrible, but I don't know, maybe now I would think I probably had never had a salad before, and I was like, oh, okay.
I thought of McDonald's. I actually had it on my list because when I was a kid in the 70s, 80s, like you had your birthday party at McDonald's, and Ronald was like, he was the rock star. Yes, there was a play place. Ronald McDonald was everywhere. I mean, they were obviously targeting kids.
Yeah,
and he's gone,
all had
except for Ronald McDonald House. That's the only time you ever really hear. And, coincidentally, it was around the time of Poltergeist, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Scary Clowns, maybe that's why he disappeared.
That was the marketing shift. He did start to look a lot creepier.
For sure.
I don't know if I just got older.
And started thinking about it. Yeah.
Honestly, all those McDonald's characters, when I look at the 80s versions or 70s, I'm like, they are kind of creepy looking. They don't look like somebody I would want to go hug as a little kid. But
Grimace is still around though because of didn't they have like a Grimace shake?
They have this. They
purple
do
shake.
the shake.
Oh boy, God, strayed from the salads. Then they just tried to do like the arches. Didn't have the name, but I think the golden arches, like you're just gonna recognize.
It's a classic. Even if they change the font of it or whatever they're doing, sometimes with the M, it's still that's what the brand. I mean, you can't name really any CEOs of there, but you do know the M. And I think that is, going back to earlier, it's really hard now because I think in branding, people are really trying to make CEOs very visible. And I think we need to not do that anymore. I think we can go right on back to having them like no one knows who they are because, everyone assumes that if they're a CEO, they make all of these decisions all the time, and they don't. And like now, a lot of things people know about Steve Jobs, like he maybe wasn't like the nicest human being in the world, but at the time, people didn't really know that. They thought of him as this like mega innovator and technologist that was able to do all of this cool stuff. But had he, I don't know, it may have been different had they known, how he was and how he treated people.
I think a lot.
No, go ahead.
I think a lot of the CEOs would agree with you now. I think they would like to step out of the
want to be the
limelight.
face.
Tesla's going through a unintentional rebranding right now. I don't think that they would. I think they would be happy if their CEO wasn't recognized as the face of Tesla anymore.
I mean,
Right,
we would
for sure.
Be
We would be happy about that,
We'd
too.
be happy. Like, I think the people that want themselves to be out there find a way to get themselves out there, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, but like you were saying about like Steve Jobs and stuff like that, like I think we just thought about the products. You didn't think about the person
It's true.
until that person was put in front of you.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of ways that can go wrong.
Yeah.
Maybe. Or, I mean, I guess there are good things that can happen too. On a personal level, have you ever found yourself trying to change course or rebrand yourself?
All the time. I mean,
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah. I mean, I
Reinvention.
feel like every New Year's, it's, as much as I hate New Year's resolutions, I never make a New Year's resolution, but in the back of my head, I'm like, okay, I'm going to start exercising more, reading more, and, you know, all these new positive changes. And I usually do pretty well doing that, but like everybody else, it starts to fade, like come summer when it's party time again or whatever.
and I think you should. I think when you think of like big brands or corporations, they always have a new product that's coming out. And so when you're talking about like personally, you shouldn't be the same person or the same, you know, product you were. It should evolve in some kind of way. So,
Yeah.
you know, I think it's important that everybody has a slight rebrand. Like, I think, you know, it's like, there's always like, you can always tell when people are going through stuff in their life where they have like a wild haircut situation that happens. You know, like those never work out
Yeah.
well. Like I think of like Amanda Bynes when she, you know,
Yeah.
had her, she's getting back together though.
Okay, yeah, it
That's what
seems
I'm hearing,
yeah.
that she's getting.
she had a moment though where there was some concern.
Oh, that, yeah. It's just, I don't think you can do, and I think that goes across the board. I don't know that you can do really drastic brand
Yeah.
changes across the board.
Yeah. Jessica, you're an author. Branding is obviously important.
Yeah.
Publishing.
No, that's true. And actually, well, you have a little kid, so you might know Elephant and Piggy. Do you know Mo Willems,
Yes.
the author? He's a children's author, but he has a line, and it's just a word of wisdom, that if you find yourself in the wrong story, leave.
Oh, I love that.
And as a storyteller, you know, as an author, the stories that we tell ourselves are often way stranger than fiction.
Yeah, right.
And yeah, I definitely think it's good to check, have a little vibe check every once in a while to make sure that, you know, yeah.
Well, we are going to dive into the author world and books, and we'll talk about what counts as reading and what counts as reading. Think audiobooks, plus book club etiquette. That's up next on Group Chat on BTPM NPR. Thanks for joining us again on Group Chat. I'm your host, Bentley, and I'm joined by Naila Ansari-Catilo, Africana Studies professor at Buffalo State University, choreographer and performing artist, Matt Hitch, musician and lover of pop culture and all-around creative at Buffalo Toronto Public Media, and Jessica Topper, award-winning author and former librarian. You will be very valuable in this next conversation. So it feels to me that reading has picked up again. Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe I just know more people. Maybe I'm becoming more of an adult. I don't know. I'm not reading more. I'm still trying to finish books. That hasn't changed. I did the same thing with the Rebrand in January. I was like, I'm going to read more books. I'm going to read a book a month. So I have like 2 half books started. But the big debate that has come up when discussing this topic are audiobooks. Mm-hmm. So settle a debate. When you listen to an audiobook, does that count as reading?
I absolutely think it does. And I go back to when I worked at the New York Public Library, there were actually volunteers who every day would come in and they'd read the New York Times, record it for the blind. So that was, you know, right there, it's an accessibility thing in my mind. But I know, I mean, you're taking it in differently.
Yeah.
When you're listening, you can't skim like you do when you're reading.
Yeah.
But then again, you can't really sit there and think, oh, I really love that one sentence. You just have to keep going.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
it's a different medium, but it's still, you could be very well read.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, in 2024, 149 million Americans, 52% have listened to an audiobook. So I thought that was a higher number in comparison to when I look at the overall country and how people consume media and people who are reading. So I thought that was a pretty high number. 38% of American adults listened to an audiobook in the last year. So, I mean, maybe this is helping people consume literature and words. if you're not using it for accessibility, Matt's kind of giving me a little bit.
I love audiobooks. Like, I don't as much now. When I used to have a cassette in my car player or cassette player in my car,
Yeah.
I would always get audiobooks when I was going on road trips. And then there's certain authors that I like to hear them read their book, like Patti Smith, Just Kids. I read her book, and I've heard her speak a few times, and then I saw that she had an audio version of that. So I listened to it again just because I think she's like such a good orator. And David Sedaris is another one. I just think he's hilarious, and he narrates a couple of his books. So there's certain, I like it when it's the author themselves reading it, which I'm not against other people reading it, but you wrote the book and your own personality's coming out in it when you read it. So I really like that. And I find it takes the same amount of time. And I don't think you're like saving time by doing an audio book, or probably takes longer.
I think it takes longer,
Like,
yeah.
because you can, like Jessica said, you can skim a little bit if you're reading an actual book, but an audio book, you got to play through the whole thing.
Yeah. But you can also do it while you're doing other things. So
That
you
is
can
true.
use it
Yeah.
on a
Yeah.
road trip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even though I can't listen to books in the car for long road trips because I will fall asleep.
Yeah.
So it's funny because James McBride is coming here for the Buffalo Literature Series. And so I started reading the Heaven and Earth grocery store, and my significant other, he reads completely different books from me. Like, he's into like housewife romance or something. I don't even know. I don't know. He's in like this, he talks to other people in book clubs, and then he just reads things for escapism, which we're going to be talking about. So he's like, oh, I'll listen to that on audiobook. I'm like, no, that's cheating. I'm reading it. You can't listen on audio. And now he finished it ahead of me, because he does it when he's doing other things. Because every time I try to read a book, I fall asleep at night. So I don't know. I think that's cheating in this situation.
I do both. Personally, I'm not the biggest fan of Audible.
Yeah.
It's when I need to really like research something.
I
can do both at the same time. I know that sounds kind of
Oh, really?
odd, but sometimes, to your point of like, I like the author when they're reading it. But when I'm also reading it, I catch different. For me, I have like different sensations, and I'm catching different things. So like the tonation, someone may say, is different than how I might be reading it a little bit. So I can do both, and my son's dyslexic, so for us, like audibles are like a lifesaver for him to be able to see and like imagine in a totally different way, because it takes so long to actually like read and then be able to like comprehend what you're doing. So like audiobooks are big in our household, but there is something so nice about just getting a book and just opening it and touching it. Like I don't know, I love that feeling of like going into a bookstore and actually
Me too.
Yeah.
grabbing
The
it.
smell.
Yes.
Yeah. I know it's the paste, but or whatever they say, the book binding. I'm probably not supposed to enjoy, but yeah, is something about a physical book, because I didn't even really get into the Kindle phase or watching on my iPad. Or
that
anything.
was a no. That was a hard no for me. I can't do the iPad. Like it's either an audible book or it's the actual book.
Yeah.
My eyes, it makes me fall asleep. Honestly, like I tap out very quickly on like reading on a Kindle or
on a
iPad.
Kindle.
We're on screens so much that it's like, okay. And some of them do have what they call paper white, so it does look like a page, but it's still a digital product.
Yeah.
Like
I
I
actually-
need a break.
I enjoyed the Kindle when it first came out, and I had one, like Kindle Fire. I think it was one of the very first ones. And then I had to upgrade. It said that I needed a new one. I was like, this is just print. Like, I have to upgrade this. And after that, I was like, no, I'm done. I'm not upgrading this. Like, I kind of liked it, at least when I was like living in Toronto. I was always on the subway, and I'm like a book nerd, and some of my books I don't want to carry around because I don't want the corners to get bent. So it was nice to just carry around the Kindle. I could just throw it in my
so many
bag, pull
books,
it out, and read it, and it was just kind of convenient, especially like really big books. It's like condensed, but once I had to upgrade my Kindle. Like, not, I had to buy a whole new one. I was
Yeah.
like, no, I'm not doing that.
I still have my Fire. It still works.
Does it still work?
Yeah. Well, my very first novel only came out in ebook, and this was
Oh, wow.
2013. And at that time, they said ebooks are everything, and print is dead. And I said, I want to be able to read my book. I'll buy myself and I wanted a Kindle Fire so I could see the cover in color.
Yes.
Because the other Kindles were just black and white. So it still works, but it's clunky.
That's actually a good point. My girlfriend's currently reading a book series. I don't know what it's called, to be honest, but a couple of them are only available through e-readers. Like, she can't even buy physical copies. And I thought, oh, that's
Trends.
kind of
Yeah.
a bummer.
So
changes,
and this is
yeah.
like 2025.
Sometimes
So
it
I
keeps
just
costs down too, like it's
The printing costs.
Yeah.
Or they'll come out with the ebook, and then later on they'll come out with the paperback. Then they come out with the hardcover.
Yeah.
They sort of stack it.
Did your book ever end up coming out in print, or is it still just
Well,
digital?
that was with one of what they call the big five publishers, out of New York. And at the time, I was such a little fish in a very big pond. And they said, if it sells well, we'll put it in print. Well, they didn't, but I got the rights back.
Oh, that's
nice.
wonderful.
Yeah, it took about 7 years. But once they reverted the rights to me, I said, I can do anything with this book. I can put a new cover on it. Well, I had to put a new cover because they had the rights to that. And then people always ask me, why can't I get this in print? So that was the first thing I did, was figure out how to put it in print. So
Oh,
nice.
that's
now it
great.
is. It's not an audiobook yet. That's just because narrators, it's not a cheap thing for just an indie author to try to do on their own.
Yeah.
And there's some audiobook narrators that are almost like they have a following.
Yeah.
Oh,
People
yeah,
will
they're
buy
like-
anything that they read, regardless of who's,
I never
what the
really
book is.
thought about that, but that makes sense. It's probably somebody's voice is like soothing or
Yeah.
nice
Oh
to
yeah, voice
listen to.
actors are
Yeah.
huge. That's a big
Yeah.
space now for a lot of
Yeah.
our students that are looking into acting, voice acting. They're going into
Yeah.
that world because everyone's always looking for someone to read.
And they can do
books.
that on their own time. Jessica, as an author, how much could you be involved in picking the person to read your book if you do an audiobook? Is that a publisher decision? Do you have feedback on that?
I believe, well, when you're with a very large publisher, you might not get much choice. Just like they say, here's your cover. What do you think?
Right.
And then you're, did you read the book?
right.
It doesn't really matter. But yeah, I think, and again, I know several authors who are totally independent and self-published and have a pretty big following, and they've, been able to command, they can actually say, I want that person. They've done all my other books. So a little more control.
Yeah. In case you're just joining us, you're listening to Group Chat. I'm your host, Bentley, here with Naila Ansari-Catilo, Matt Hitch, and Jessica Topper. Right now we're talking about audiobooks, physical books. What do you think the audio medium adds to the fictional narrative? I know that we talked about like autobiographies and having the person that the story is about reading it can be powerful, especially if they're a celebrity, like Patti Smith. And then, Naila, you were talking about voice actors. So do you think that audio medium adds to the narrative? Would you rather create your own narrative in your head?
I think I would rather create my own narrative, but I haven't personally read any, but I imagine there's books with like maybe Foley sounds, like, a horse trotting
Yeah.
something. I'm guessing that exists, but I haven't read any like that. That would be kind of interesting, I guess. But
You just said read, and you were talking about listening.
Yeah.
we're already there.
I think it depends on who's doing the narration, honestly.
Yeah.
Because if it's someone, like, I've heard some real flat, like, you are putting me to sleep. Like, this feels like it's more of a meditative, like, storytelling happening
like that.
than me being interested. So I do think you have to have the right person.
I remember in college, I was like doing these philosophy courses, and they were really dense readings. And I tried the audio, and it was like you said, it was worse. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't.
There's
listen.
nothing
I
worse
was
than a
like, you
dry
were putting me to
stomach.
sleep. Yeah, it was putting me to sleep instantly. I was like, I have to read this, I guess. Like,
Well, some novels actually have two, like especially a romance where there's,
Oh, yeah.
a hero and a heroine, and the chemistry between the two voice actors. Some people really, almost like watching a movie and getting that
So there will
chemistry.
be two voices.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I looked up like radio plays, maybe.
Yeah.
I would love to see that, like what happens if there's like a big kind of push in this space of, I know it's like obviously in like podcasting world, but if, the radio decides to do kind of like these plays audibly.
We did Sleepy Hollow, and we did the Christmas one. Was
It's
a Christmas
Wonderful
story, or It's a Wonderful Life.
Yeah.
And the whole thing with Folly and the sounds in the background is definitely a radio play thing, because you didn't hear that. Like if you go back and you look up old radio broadcasts of radio plays, you'll hear that stuff. But like I think the more modern storytelling audio, you don't hear those sound effects. You don't really hear like the actor voices. I feel like that is a little bit of a lost art, but people definitely appreciated it when you brought it back.
Yes.
Yeah. I got since we did those radio plays, I was doing the Foley stuff, but it got me more interested in listening to old radio plays. I'm a record collector, so I was buying these old records, like even like Superman, and I started getting those like read-along books or whatever with the record, and there's like Star Wars and Gremlins, and like every 80s movie like had a read-along book. So it really got me thinking about the Foley sounds and like the narrator. So.
Because you don't even really get that in podcasts.
No, you get a lot of unnecessary opinions.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. We might be onto something.
Is anybody in a book club?
Oh, me. Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys are? I feel like I want to join one, but I feel like I'm not responsible enough.
See.
They'd kick me out.
Yeah, you have to read your book.
See, but I have friends that are in book clubs, and they do not read the book. They just all get together and go out, and they say,
1,000%.
we read the
That's
menu,
real.
Yeah,
That's why I kind of like did a little a side eye, because my book club is more of like what's current in the field and you need to read for work kind of book club. So, but it's not the fun like get down party.
Yeah.
Some of us read the book, or the one person read the book and they're the only ones talking about it. And I was like, oh, that sounds good. I didn't get to that. I had a long week, and then we just start talking about other stuff. So,
yeah. So you actually have to read the book in your book club.
yeah, well, it's just kind of like keeping current in the field, so that you can you be current, but also for your students, so you can kind of see what's happening.
Yeah.
And so I wouldn't say it's not as fun. It's like more inquisitive, but it requires so much more like consciously thinking of something, as opposed to like enjoyment in a different way. So,
but it's a good way for accountability. If you
That's
have,
true.
people that are also reading it, and you create a deadline for yourself.
Yes,
I guess,
Yeah. I was in a few book clubs. Like loosely, we just occasionally email each other like, hey, let's do like whatever. We usually music books, and we always try and pick like something we're not really super into. Like we all read, it's no offense to anybody who likes him, but we all read Sammy Hagar's biography, and none of us are like big fans. But I just wanted to read something that was like outside of my general interest. And we're all music nerds, so that kind of, we're all trying to like learn about music we're not super into. So we actually do read the books, but we still like have a little party, I guess, or whatever. And get together, have a few drinks, and talk about the book. But we actually do read them. There's been a few times when people come and like, I couldn't make it through that book, or dropped out, and still let them in. But
who decides the books, and how often do you meet?
so that was a problem when we first started doing it. We were going to do a book a month, and that quickly, like, that did not happen. Like, and then as soon as we finished, like, we just like put a pool of names of books, and everybody voted, and that's how we picked the book. But then, like, it got to where we were doing the book club constantly, and I was like, I actually want to read something else that's not inside our book club. So then we dropped it down to like just doing it twice a year.
Yeah.
So we're not always like reading
Mm-hmm.
like books we don't really want to read all year long. So
Jessica, you're in a book club.
Yeah, it's pretty forgiving
Yeah.
if somebody didn't read the book. But if the others are talking about it and there's a spoiler, you can't say like, "Oh, I didn't get to it." It's on you.
Oh,
Spoiler
okay.
alert.
So,
yeah.
all right. So, if the person didn't read the book, they can't be mad if you spoiled it. You're
Correct.
still allowed to talk about it. Okay,
Yeah.
I thought it was.
You're like in an invested book club. And that's like, and then like a, fun.
Yeah.
This is like our passion book club.
Well, this one had been going for many years, and they invited me to come talk about my own
invite.
book.
Wow.
Well, they wanted, they knew I was local. I had a connection with one of the people in the group, so they said, come, we're all going to read your book. I was like, cha-ching, and talk about it, and it was wonderful. And then they invited me like an honorary member, and I saw on Facebook I had a memory come up, and it's been 10 years since I've been a part of this group.
Oh, wow.
I so love that they invited me, but it's definitely talk a little about this book, then talk about every other book you're reading, then current events and wine.
Yeah.
I feel like there's always. Is there not wine in your book club, Naila?
Oh, no, this is like a very academic, like online. I wouldn't
Yeah.
even necessarily, I don't even know that is really a book club as much as it is.
Yeah.
Is like, oh, this is the new book you all need to be reading. And then this one just came out. And then this one just came out. And then this one. And it's more like, it's kind of rigid in the sense of it almost feels like a peer review a little bit. Like you're reading almost to like critique, which is
Interesting.
uncomfortable. So no, it's not enjoyable.
Yeah. I've definitely seen different levels of book clubs.
Bentley,
Yeah.
there is something called the Silent Book Club.
Yes, and that.
it's growing. It's a trend.
Okay, and is that? Oh no, is there one of those going on in Buffalo?
I
No.
think. Well, I know. I
Silo
wanna say
City
Burning
used to do them,
Books
right?
might have done
Maybe
one for
Burning
a while.
Books. Yeah.
What is this?
It's a silent book club. It's literally people just gathering and reading on their own. They're not reading the
Oh.
same book. They're just being in the same space and reading.
Oh, they're like writing
So,
groups.
yeah.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah, a little similar. Yeah.
That's
And
nice.
maybe that's just a
Yeah.
a good way to start.
I know Silo City used to do them. I don't know if they've just not announced it for this year. So there's writing groups that do the same thing. You just sit and write.
you can just and it's almost one of those accountability things that you
Yeah.
know you need to write or get something done, and so everyone will meet at the same. And mine are like virtual,
Yeah.
so we'll meet online on Zoom at a
Yeah.
certain once a month or whatever, and everybody sits there and writes, and you kind of just motivate each other, in the
that's
chat or
great.
just kind of get off. But everybody just sits there, and you have 2 hours to write, just so. So it's almost kind of like a planned schedule.
And then do you
Yeah.
have like a little talk afterwards? You can.
Yeah, but you can
have a
share
little
your
dialogue.
thoughts, or like I'm kind of have a writer's block on this, and so it's nice, and it's good too for some of those things that you have to write that you don't necessarily want to write, and just kind of need to push through and need to get it for whatever it is. But they're nice.
Little peer support.
And you might see people at Spot Coffee, a whole group of people, and they're all just writing and
Yeah.
not talking.
Yeah.
Write in.
Right in.
I know the adult book fairs. Wait, I should not adult book fairs.
Book fairs for grown-ups.
Book fairs for grown-ups. You got to be careful when you're searching. That too. I know Alice Ever After Books is doing one over by the zoo, and there is a Silo City reading series coming up that features poetry, also music and art, but there's going to be different readings, and that's going to be a thing. I always like the Babel series, and I know James McBride's coming to Kleinhans April 30th. So it seems to be there's a lot of events popping up. I know the New York Times did a big article last summer of these massive, book clubs that were out at like bars.
I think there's also like I kind of jumped on this like Instagram challenge thing. People are just like, in October is like 31 spooky stories. Like you just read a different short spooky story every day, or like there'll be a featured author or whatever, and just like hashtag them. You just kind of, you don't know the people, but you're just like sort of doing this trend or whatever.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's an age group though, because there's actually a lot of writings that have come out, and the Atlantic did an article on like students, the Gen Z group, they don't read. Like even like Ivy League students are not reading, or there's like a remarkable amount of students that actually don't finish books. So I wonder if the book club thing, like if that's a
Encouragement.
yeah, like is
people.
it something that's kind of like an older like generations that are kind of coming back, there's too much social media, and then we know what it's like not to have social media, versus it's a younger group of people that quite literally don't read.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right. I hope that this is helping that. That's kind of sad to hear. But
Well, what about textbooks? Is it all audiobooks? Like when you
No,
assign
so
reading
typically,
for students?
a lot of students usually are not getting Audible books unless they need it for accessibility
Yeah.
reasons. But I will say across the board, they are not reading. There's a lot of articles now, and you can read them like Inside Higher Education, that it is like a push to get students to read. Like they really genuinely don't want to read.
Yeah.
And and part of it is like, is it too time consuming for you because they feel like they can just Google the answer?
Yeah.
Is it interesting? Is it not interesting? There's COVID too, so there's a lot of things that impacted, but they also are the social media generation. It's not like we didn't come up with video games, but they quite literally have always been digital. And so it feels like, for them, it feels like it's more of some type of a strain as opposed to something that is like fun and enjoyable, because they've just had so much, they don't know what like Mortal Kombat looks like without like NVIDIA and like this software where it looks like real life. Like they don't know like pixelated video games look like.
The stuff that Matt's playing on his Sega.
Right. And they're like really big into YouTube and Netflix and stream. So they don't even have like TV in the traditional sense where they actually have to wait for an episode to come out every week.
Right.
Like they can get everything at one time whenever they want it. And so it's been a major issues for academics across the country, not even just Ivies or public universities. The students are not reading.
I think that's a big problem with the way we consume news too, because everybody wants a headline and nobody wants to read it, like a well thought out article published, peer reviewed or whatever. Everybody just wants like the explosive headline, and it's partially social media, but I think even before social media, like 24-hour news kind of probably started conditioning us to that, because it's like we don't have any news stories to report on right now. So let's talk about whatever, throw some crazy graphics behind it and some music and make it all
and
crazy.
even just reading the full story, if it is a news story, not a lot of people don't make it past the headline or even the one sentence.
It's true. My favorite line I've been saying for like the last couple of years, like, but did you read though? Like, did you read?
Yeah,
I saw the headline.
And then that's usually what ends up happening. It's like, well, I kind of, and then I saw it on line, and then I like looked it up, and then with AI now, with artificial intelligence, the biggest thing that I can say that has been an issue with AI is that it's only as smart as you are.
Yep.
And so when you don't read and you actually don't have a foundation, you don't know if what it's telling you is right or if it's wrong. And so a lot of the students that we have are like younger generations. They're like, oh, we don't need to read. Like, it's just going to tell us what to do.
Something is going to tell us.
Oh, even like reading clocks though. Like, I was very proud that like my kids can read clocks. Like we were very serious. Like you are not going to only know how to read a digital clock because it shows you the numbers. Like you will know the shorthand and the longhand in seconds. But it's not common. Like it is very.
That's
scary.
Wild.
Actually,
I didn't even know that was a problem.
Well,
cursive is not a thing anymore in schools.
Cursive, I'm not surprised about. I think we could probably cripple a generation to start writing everything.
Well,
right.
Jessica and I were talking about notes, and now I haven't used handwriting in so long. When I do write notes down, I can't even read it. But all the things you were just talking about, Naila, and just how we're so plugged in, and this generation is so plugged in. There's also a need for escapism. So that is a thing. There's new trends in that. We're going to talk about that next on BTPM NPR Group Chat. Welcome back to Group Chat. I'm your host, Bentley. I'm here with my guest, Naila Ansari-Catilo, Africana Studies professor at Buffalo State University, choreographer and performing artist. Matt Hitch, musician and lover of pop culture and all-around creative at Buffalo Toronto Public Media. And Jessica Topper, award-winning author and former librarian. So we've been talking about consumption of, we kind of ended that last segment on media consumption. So what is your media consumption like these days? And do you feel that you need an escape from it? Do you feel like you need to make sure you're consuming it? Is it becoming healthy, unhealthy? Is there too much information, not enough information? Where are you at with consuming media right now?
Me personally, like, I read a lot. I've also been like just like an avid news junkie forever, but here this past election cycle or whatever. That was one of my actual New Year's resolutions. It's like, I have to cut down on this because it's just going to drive me crazy, and I can't walk around angry all day, basically. And it was like usually how I started my morning is I would get up and I'd listen to like NPR up first, I'd listen to BBC, I'd listen to Al Jazeera, and I thought, this shouldn't be the way I start my day, listening to all the bad stuff that's happening around the world. So now I still listen to those, but I do it much later. I get up and I read for a while and exercise. And I put that news off for a little bit. And then I've been implementing like my own thing. I have no news Friday, and I try and extend that into the weekend. I'm going to hear about it eventually, so I'm just like, I'm taking the day off from the news and just trying to like cut back as much as I can. And even with that, I still have a friend will text me or somebody come up, did you hear about blah blah blah?
And I'm
I'm trying to cut back on my phone in general, because my phone seems like the news basically, and do more things like reading and which I already did a fair amount of, and listening to records. And I listen to records and we'll just do some yoga or something and not have my phone anywhere near me, because it's easy to listen to records and still look at your phone or whatever. So trying to do stuff like that for
the phone is just designed to be an endless scroll. There's really you can't get to the bottom of your news feed.
That's true.
It doesn't end.
And it becomes mindless in a way.
And then you're just continually looking for the next thing, whether you realize you're doing it or not. I think I need to get an actual physical alarm clock, because I don't think it's healthy that I have my phone so close to my bed, because when I wake up and can't sleep, I pick up my phone.
Oh, yes.
But I have my phone nearby.
I will get you one out of the electronic recycling.
I'm going to hold you to that. Be on the lookout for that in another Sega.
The numbers that kind of flip up.
Yeah. I mean, what about if you are in a field where you have to pay attention to media? Because, I mean, Naila, you are teaching students.
And a lot of my courses are in pop culture, or what's current in my lecture courses. So I have to be really current. And it's interesting because a lot of the things that I find online and social media is actually the opposite. If you saw anything on my Instagram, the algorithm is literally just total comedy the entire time. And so, so for me, it's my scrolling has been just to kind of get me out of what I have to know and be abreast to, and especially with so many changes for where I am every day with DEI and, my DACA students and all those things. You're trying not to be stressed because they are affecting people every single day. So in some ways, my phone has kind of been a savior in a weird way. I have meditations on there that I get free off YouTube, or those types of things, or even my workout. Sometimes I'll just go on YouTube and I'll cast it to the TV or whatever. And so for as much as the phone can be a pain in the butt, it has oddly enough been my savior. And recipes. Comedies and recipes.
Cat videos. Any funny animals.
Yes.
That'll feed.
I do use my phone a lot when I'm reading. I do just sounds of the ocean. Because there's something about absolute silence to where my mind will start wandering. But if I just hear some frogs or something in the background, it's just comforting to me while I'm reading. So I don't know. I kind of got in a habit when I used to ride public transit a lot. There's people talking on their phone and talking, so I'd have earbuds in and I'd have the rainforest or whatever while I was reading on the transit. And now that I'm not really riding it, I just got in that habit where I kind of need that in the background while I'm reading. So it doesn't seem to hurt anything, so I'm sticking with it. So.
Well, I think there is something about, too, when Naila was talking about comedy and her Instagram feed. I know there are times where, you're sharing with people and I'll be like, Naila like something or laugh and I'm like, oh, I'm not alone. It's like 4 in the morning, but I'll be like, oh yeah, all of us are like
We're
in
all
a place right now.
doing absolutely like craziness at 3 o'clock in the morning. Like I'm up at 3 o'clock in the morning till like 4:30.
Yep.
And just doing absolutely nothing. And I've tried the meditating thing, but the comedy is so much better. Like I can just sit there and just crack up. And they're like not even always comedians. It's just people just doing the most outrageous crap on that.
Or just the universal, like, that is funny.
Yes, it's true.
I don't know you.
The memes. Like I was just like just have them and you just send them out to people.
Yeah. And so I guess that is a form of escaping too, because you're, I guess escaping the other worlds.
Yeah, that's true.
I think I got my TikTok algorithm into more comedy things now too. It used to be a lot of political stuff, but I just kept swiping past it. And now it's mostly people getting scared. I like jump scares or
Clifford showing up in the elevator. That was a real.
I saw that yesterday.
That was a real reaction.
Yeah.
Disclaimer: Friday mornings, people usually are not here early. So when I walk into the back elevator and Clifford's in the elevator, yes, I did scream. If you haven't seen this, and you don't know what we're talking about, it's on the BTPM NPR and PBS Instagram. I have to own up to it. So, are there things that you do that are non-internet hobbies or non-screen hobbies, even though I know you guys were talking about like working out and sometimes you do use your phone for that, but what are some of the things that you try to do to escape or give yourself a mental health break?
Walking that's been my new thing, of just going outside and just walking. It's funny because my mom has been doing it for years, and I used to kind of like chuckle because like her and her like the old women crew and like up at 6 a.m. at Delaware Park like walking it out, and like now I've totally been that person. And it's just so nice to just be outside, and honestly I started doing it because I got really low vitamin D, which most of us I think to have here in Buffalo. But it was the first time that my doctor made me aware, like, your vitamin D is like real low.
Yep.
You need to go outside. And so I just started walking, and it's been so
do you do
nice
it
to just
without
walk.
earbuds? Like you're
I don't. I have a couple times, but then I get a little nervous about not
being able to hear your surroundings.
Yes.
I get that way too.
So I get a little bit nervous. But sometimes I have like kind of had the earbuds in when I'm listening maybe to like an audible book or a podcast.
Mm.
You can do the one earbud out too. I don't know how that works with the...
And they say that if you walk before 10 a.m., you're kind of resetting your circadian rhythm, and you'll sleep better at night. Like your body sort of knows, hey, it's nighttime, but now it's daytime, and I'm out. Mm-hmm.
I don't even know what my circadian rhythm is.
Yeah, mine is kind of a hot mess. But I'll keep on my walking journey, so I'll let you know if I sit through the night. Great.
Do you think as technology continues to evolve, I mean, we've talked about technology evolution in like 3 different products already today, that escapism will become more ingrained in our daily lives and part of our routines?
I hope it will for me. You mean escaping from technology?
Yeah, or is it just going to get worse? Because I know like the brain rot is a thing. The New York Times just did an article, Gen Z brain rot, the constant phone use.
I feel like there seems to be a backlash towards it. I haven't read anything, or I don't know this for a fact, but it seems like I hear people like getting off social media, being on their phones less. I've been trying to do it less personally, and I'm sure like with the news cycle, it's probably just going to push more towards that. Like,
Jessica, you mentioned a couple things about resetting and...
Yeah. I mean, during the pandemic, I was trying to do other things, and I found one of those adult coloring books with the paisley.
Adult coloring books are the best, by the way.
Yeah.
Yes, they are.
And it's good. I've heard that, if you do one sort of art, like writing, you should try something else, because sometimes your brain, you're overthinking like a plot problem, and I can't figure out how to, move this book forward. I think it was Agatha Christie who said the best book plotting was when she did dishes. Like just
Yeah.
doing something else with your
Yeah.
hands allows
Yeah.
your mind. So I really felt the fine, motor skills of trying to keep in the lines calmed me. Yeah, I did a bunch of yoga like Matt too,
Yeah.
and yeah.
Maybe I need to talk to somebody because sometimes the still activities give me more anxiety.
Well,
I'm like,
people
I
feel
can't
guilty.
meditate because I'm like,
Yeah.
it's quiet. What am I supposed to be doing
I
right
think
now?
people they feel guilty even if they're just doing a hobby for the fun of it.
Yeah.
Like they
Yeah.
think, oh, well, if I'm doing this, maybe I can monetize it.
Yeah.
No, it's true. You
Yes.
always think that you need to be working or you need to be responding to somebody
true.
or you need to be plugged in somehow.
The guided meditations are, I mean, that's how me sitting down,
Yeah.
like I have like 50 other things. I'm like, I can do this. But the guided meditations where someone's like talking you
Yeah.
through it has been
Okay, I'll
really
look-
good for
I'll look that
for
up.
me.
Do you do those through Audible or just an app? or-
I use it depends. Sometimes I get them from like Spotify,
Yeah.
or you can get them off like Apple Music or YouTube, and and especially when you find some that are good, and you can just repeat them over and over again. And I felt like 15 minutes is like, I'm trying to get more, but like 15
Yeah.
minutes has been like a good soft
Good.
spot
Okay.
for me.
That's my assignment.
Try
For next
I
time.
want to get my students, I was just saying we need to figure out if there's like a class or something, because the younger generation, they literally cannot be without their phones at all. Like they will leave in the middle of class and pretend to go to the bathroom just so they can check their phone if someone says they can't use if a professor says they can't use their phone.
Yeah.
So it's a major issue, and for all intents and purposes, they're growing up in schools that way because they all have iPads too, so they're like constantly connected, even if they're not supposed to be.
Yeah. The brain scans around brain rot. Now, this is me summarizing an article I read. I am not a scientist. This is a New York Times article, but the doctor that they interviewed said that there are signs of scans in the brain areas of addiction that
Yeah.
phone use is affecting.
Makes sense.
So,
Yeah.
same brain areas.
It's
which
totally
makes sense.
addictive.
All
I
the
Yeah.
know,
notifications.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Plus,
So-
I think you get like endorphins, like if you get likes or whatever on your
Yeah.
post or something. I've read something.
Yeah,
like,
the dopamine
Oh, really?
hit.
Oh, you
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
me. Yay.
I don't even know you.
I don't know you, but you gave me a heart,
Yeah.
so you must be a good person. Plans for the weekend. But we're into April. Oh my goodness.
Oh gosh.
Well,
wow.
Saturday's my birthday.
Yeah, Aries.
So that's my excuse for my weekend.
Do you have anything fun planned, or
Actually, I'm going with 14 other writers. We're just doing a little writing retreat like Airbnb.
Oh.
So that's kind of a built-in party.
Oh, that's cool. That's very cool.
Yeah, it
Airbnb
just happened to
retreats.
coincide. Yeah.
Oh, perfect.
Oh, wow.
Matt, what are you doing?
Well, my car, it's going to be in the shop. I'm putting it in the shop, so I think I'm going to try and get my bike out again and start riding my bike around the
Yeah.
neighborhood at least. And this weekend is also the plant weekend. I take care of our plants every other weekend. It's a big deal. We have a ton of plants, so that's kind of like a
Do you talk to them, or
Oh, we should have a plant episode. I've recently gotten plants too.
really? Oh,
It's
okay.
become my
All right.
new thing. Like I was talking to Jessica about this. It's like soothing. It's like meditating to
Yeah.
me. It's just I take care of the plants. I don't really talk to them. I talk to myself all the time. So I don't think it's any more crazy to talk to plants. But
That's why all the plants. Matt takes care of all the plants that you see when you come into that. I, for the longest time, thought they were fake because they're so.
Oh, I did too. I thought they were
Yeah.
fake too.
No, I saw him watering them one day, and I'm like, okay, I've never
that
met
crazy
this
guy?
guy, so either he's really
Watering the plastic
he's just
plant.
watering the plastic plants, and then one day he gave me like clippings from them. I'm like, oh, okay, they're real. Wow, they look great.
yeah.
And what about you, Naila?
Oh, I have our Venn Gala this weekend, so I was on our committee for Buffalo State. So we're raising money for our Grit Scholarship for students that need it for just life things that happen.
Yeah.
And our students are performing, so I'll be there. And then I'll be doing a talk at SUNY Westchester. So
Oh wow, you were
heading that
all over
way.
the place.
Yeah, I'll be heading over there Sunday.
Is the gala, is that open to the public, or is that just
Yeah,
for, okay.
we have tickets available, and it goes directly to help our students. So it's not like it's something that just kind of going
Yeah.
to the school for different things. It really helps to support our students. So
Oh, great. Okay, good to know. I mean, maybe I'll swing by. I think the last two group chats I've been saying I'm going to do spring cleaning. So maybe this weekend I'll actually do it, but
Yeah. We're officially in
there's
spring.
been a lot going on. So, well, that wraps up today's episode of Group Chat for now. If you want to continue the conversation, make sure you follow us on Instagram and Twitter at BTPM NPR. Also, check us out on the video podcast on Buffalo Toronto Public Media's YouTube. Protect my public media. If you love public media, help protect it. If you love shows like this, visit protectmypublicmedia.org to learn more and take action. I'd like to thank my guests, Naila Ansari-Catilo, Matt Hitch, and Jessica Topper. I'm your host, Bentley. Have a great weekend, and thanks for listening.